There was a moment, maybe you didn't even notice it, when someone looked at you and their entire world shifted. Not in some dramatic movie scene kind of way, but in that quiet, breathtaking instant when recognition hits the soul before the mind can even catch up. Their heart literally skipped. Time stuttered. And in that fraction of a second, something in them whispered, "It's you." And here's what makes this so profound. It wasn't about what you were trying to be. It wasn't the version of yourself you carefully constructed or the mask you thought you needed to wear. It was something raw and unfiltered in you, something authentically you, that stopped them in their tracks. Maybe it was the way you laughed at something genuinely funny, throwing your head back without caring how you looked. Maybe it was how you spoke about something you're passionate about, your eyes lighting up with that fire that can't be faked. Maybe it was a moment of vulnerability when you weren't even trying to be strong, and they saw the beautiful, tender humanity in you. Whatever it was, it imprinted on them. And from that moment forward, it's been you. Not the idea of you. Not who they hoped you might become. You, exactly as you are. If you're watching this video, something drew you here. Maybe their name just popped into your head. Maybe you've been feeling their energy differently lately. Maybe you're wondering if what you sense between you is real or if you're imagining it. I want you to stay with me through this entire conversation, because what I'm about to share will help you understand what's been happening beneath the surface of your connection, the invisible dynamics that have been shaping everything between you since that first moment their heart skipped. Before we go deeper, I want to acknowledge everyone who supports this channel through super thanks. Your generosity allows me to dedicate the time and energy to create these deep explorations of the heart. If this message is already touching something in you, and you feel called to support this work, that super thanks button is right below. But whether you do or don't, you're exactly where you need to be right now. Now, I need you to think about the person whose energy brought you to this video. Got them in mind? Because everything I'm about to describe is happening in them, around them, through them, whether they've told you or not. Their heart made a decision about you that their mind is still trying to understand. And that gap between what the heart knows and what the mind can articulate? That's where all the complexity lives. Drop a heart emoji in the comments if you feel this person's energy on you right now, even if you're miles apart or haven't spoken in days, weeks, or longer. This isn't about waiting for someone to choose you. This isn't about convincing anyone of your worth. This is about understanding what happened in that sacred moment when they truly saw you, and why it changed everything for them, whether they're ready to admit it or not. Let's talk about what actually happened in that moment when their heart skipped. Because it wasn't random. It wasn't trivial. And it wasn't something they can simply forget or move past, no matter how much time passes or what circumstances arise. They were existing in their normal reality, going about their life, maybe even feeling pretty settled in who they thought they were and what they thought they wanted. And then you appeared, or maybe you'd been there all along and they finally looked at you differently, and something inside them jolted awake. It's like their soul had been waiting for this exact frequency, this specific resonance, and when they encountered it in you, every cell in their body responded. You know that feeling when you hear a song that reaches into your chest and grabs something you didn't even know was there? When a piece of music articulates an emotion you couldn't put into words. That's what you did to their heart. You became the melody their soul had been humming without realizing it. What they saw in you wasn't perfection. Let me be crystal clear about this because it's so important. They didn't fall for some flawless, untouchable version of you. They fell for your humanness. Maybe it was the way you got nervous and talked a little too fast about something that matters to you. Maybe it was how you apologized too much or how you tried to hide your excitement about small things because you were afraid of seeming silly. Maybe it was the quiet strength you showed when you thought no one was watching, the way you handled disappointment with grace, or how you showed up for someone else even when you were struggling yourself. They saw the parts of you that you might not even value in yourself. The quirks you try to minimize. The sensitivities you apologize for. The depths you keep hidden because not everyone has earned access to them. And instead of being put off or pulling away, they leaned in. Their hearts said yes to all of it. The light and the shadow, the confidence and the uncertainty, the strength and the tender places you protect. Here's what's been happening since that moment. They've been trying to make sense of what they felt. Because feelings this strong, this sudden, this right, They're disorienting. Especially in a world that teaches us to be cautious, to build walls, to question everything that comes too easily or feels too good to be true. They might have fought it. They probably still are fighting it. Not because they don't want you, but because wanting you this much is terrifying. Think about it. When you stumble into something that feels this significant, this potentially life-changing, every fear you've ever carried about love comes rushing to the surface. Fear of rejection. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of being seen and found lacking. Fear of losing themselves in someone else. Fear of past patterns repeating. All of it comes up, creating this internal war between what their heart knows and what their mind thinks is safe. So they've been in this push-pull dance. Moving closer, then stepping back. Showing you glimpses of how they feel, then retreating into casual distance. Testing the waters, then acting like it doesn't matter. But here's what you need to understand. Every retreat isn't rejection. Every moment of distance isn't disinterest. It's processing. It's fear. It's them trying to convince themselves that this doesn't mean what their heart knows it means. Meanwhile, you've been feeling all of this, haven't you? The mixed signals. The moments when you're absolutely certain they feel what you feel, followed by moments when you wonder if you're making it all up. The connection that feels undeniable one day and confusing the next. You've been in your own emotional gymnasium, trying to interpret their behavior, manage your own feelings, and figure out whether to lean in or protect yourself. But beneath all the surface confusion, beneath all the complicated behavior and unclear communication, there's this one unwavering truth. Their heart skipped when they saw you. And it's still skipping. Every time you're near. Every time your name comes up. Every time something reminds them of you. Their body keeps responding to you in ways their mind can't control or suppress. They might be in another relationship. They might be physically distant. They might be in a season of life that feels completely incompatible with pursuing what they feel. None of it changes the fundamental reality. You imprinted on their heart, and that imprint doesn't fade just because the timing is complicated or the circumstances are challenging. You've become their measuring stick. Every interaction with someone else gets filtered through, but they're not you. Every connection they try to make falls short because it doesn't carry the same frequency. They could be surrounded by people who are objectively wonderful, attractive, successful, available, interested, and still find themselves thinking about you. Because you're not just someone they're attracted to. You're not just someone they enjoy spending time with. You're the person who woke up something in them they didn't even know was sleeping. If you felt them comparing everyone else to you, even from a distance, drop the word frequency in the comments. This is bigger than preference. This is soul-level recognition. And once the soul recognizes its match, everything else becomes background noise. Now let's go deeper into what specifically happened when they saw that thing in you. Because understanding this will help you make sense of everything that's followed. There are 1,000 surface-level qualities someone can appreciate about another person. Physical attraction, shared interests, compatible lifestyles, similar sense of humor. These things matter, sure. But they're not what makes a heart skip. They're not what creates that jolt of recognition that rewires someone's internal landscape. What they saw in you was something essential, something core. And it fell into one of these profound categories, maybe all of them. Authentic presence. In a world where everyone's performing, editing, curating, and projecting, you showed up as yourself. Not the self you think people want. Not the self that's been trained to please and accommodate. Your actual self, with all its imperfections and uncertainties and raw edges. Do you realize how rare that is? How magnetic? Most people are so busy trying to be impressive that they forget to be real. But you, whether intentionally or not, let them see the unfiltered version. And it was like oxygen to someone who'd been holding their breath in every other interaction. Maybe you said something that revealed your actual thoughts instead of the socially acceptable version. Maybe you let them see you struggle with something instead of pretending you had it all together. Maybe you admitted to not knowing something instead of bluffing your way through. Whatever the specific moment was, they felt the truth radiating from you, and it made them feel safe in a way they haven't felt safe in years. Emotional depth. They saw that you feel things. Really feel them. You're not numb, not checked out, not performing emotional distance like it's sophistication. You care about things that might seem small to others. You get moved by beauty or injustice or vulnerability. You're not afraid of your own sensitivity, even if you've learned to hide it from people who wouldn't understand. And when they glimpsed this depth in you, it called to the depth in them, the parts they've had to bury or minimize to get through the world. Maybe they noticed the way your voice changed when you talked about someone you love. Maybe they saw tears form in your eyes during a conversation about something that matters. Maybe they watched you get passionate about defending something you believe in, and they realized you're the kind of person who stands for things, who hasn't become cynical or jaded despite everything life has thrown at you. This emotional aliveness, it's intoxicating to someone who's been sleepwalking through connection after connection, wondering if they're even capable of feeling something real anymore. Unguarded joy. This might have been the biggest one. They saw you experience genuine delight about something simple. Not curated Instagram joy. Not performative happiness. Real, bubbling up from your core joy. Maybe you got excited about a song that came on. Maybe you laughed so hard at something that you couldn't stop. Maybe they watched you lose yourself in a moment, dancing unselfconsciously, getting animated about a story, finding wonder in something small, and they saw that you haven't lost the ability to let life touch you. We live in such a defended world. Everyone's trying so hard to be cool, composed, unaffected. We've all been trained that caring too much or showing too much enthusiasm makes us vulnerable to disappointment or ridicule. But you, in that moment they saw you, you forgot to be defended. You let yourself feel joy without apologizing for it or minimizing it. And they watched that and thought, I want to live in that world. I want to feel that free. The paradox of strength and vulnerability. This is sophisticated, so stay with me. What they saw was that you're strong and soft. You can handle hard things and you're willing to admit when you're struggling. You don't pretend to have it all figured out, but you're not falling apart either. You're navigating life with this beautiful combination of resilience and openness that most people never achieve. They're either armored to the point of coldness or vulnerable to the point of fragility. But you found that rare middle ground where you can be both powerful and tender, both certain and uncertain, both independent and willing to need people. They saw this and their soul exhaled. Because they're tired of people who are all performance and no substance, or all need and no strength. They've been looking for someone who can walk beside them, not ahead, not behind, but beside, and you showed them that this kind of partnership is actually possible. Unintentional allure. Here's something powerful, you weren't trying to impress them in that moment. You weren't performing attractiveness or worthiness. You were just existing, just being, just moving through your life, and that's what got them. The unself-conscious quality of it. The lack of agenda. The absence of manipulation or strategy. You weren't trying to make them feel anything, which is exactly what made them feel everything. We've all encountered people who are clearly trying to be appealing, crafting every word, managing every expression, calculating every move. There's nothing wrong with putting effort into how we show up, but when someone is overly strategic about it, the attraction falls flat. It feels like interacting with an advertisement instead of a person. But you weren't advertising. You were just living. And that authenticity cut through every defense they'd built. Now here's what makes all of this even more significant. What they saw in you reflected something back to themselves. You gave them a glimpse of who they could be. Not because you're better than them, but because your authenticity, your depth, your aliveness, it reminded them of the parts of themselves they've had to suppress or hide. You made them want to be more real, more present, more fully themselves. You didn't just attract them, you awakened them. This is why the connection feels so intense for them. It's not just about wanting to be with you. It's about how being around you makes them feel more alive, more authentic, more like the person they actually are underneath all the roles and masks they wear. You're not just someone they're drawn to, you're someone who draws out the best in them. And that's terrifying. Because now they can't unknow this. They can't unfeel it. They can't go back to settling for connections that don't touch this depth. You've ruined them for superficiality. You've shown them what it feels like when someone sees them and they see someone back, and nothing less than that will ever feel like enough again. Type awakened if you've sensed that you changed something fundamental in how they see connection. They might fight this. They might try to talk themselves out of it. They might pursue other connections hoping to prove that what they felt with you wasn't unique. But their heart will keep returning to that moment, to you, because some things once seen cannot be unseen. Some people, once recognized by the soul, cannot be forgotten by the heart. And it all started with that one moment when their heart skipped. When time stopped. When they saw something in you that spoke to something in them. When everything clicked into place and simultaneously fell apart, because now they know what's possible, and that knowledge has transformed them forever. So let's talk about what's been happening in them since that pivotal moment, because this is where the real depth reveals itself. This is where you'll understand not just that they felt something, but what that something has been doing to them day after day, moment after moment, since their heart first recognized you. There's this phenomenon that happens when someone imprints on your heart. You become woven into their internal narrative. Not in some obsessive, unhealthy way, but in this subtle, pervasive way where you're just there. In the background of their thoughts. In the framework of how they process experiences. In the standard by which they measure moments of beauty or connection or truth. They'll be going about their day, working, talking to someone else, running errands, scrolling through their phone, and something will trigger a memory of you. A song. A phrase. A type of weather. Someone's laugh that sounds nothing like yours but somehow reminds them of you anyway. And in that instant, everything else fades. They're back in that moment when they first really saw you. Their chest tightens. Their breath catches. And they have to actively pull themselves back to the present moment because thinking about you has this way of making everything else feel less immediate, less important, less real. This isn't something they can control. They've tried. Trust me, if this person is at all cautious or self-protective, they've tried to stop thinking about you. They've tried to rationalize why it doesn't make sense, why the timing is wrong, why pursuing this feeling would be complicated or risky. They've tried to focus on other people, other possibilities, other paths. But you keep coming back. Not because they're choosing to think about you, but because their heart won't let them forget. Here's what they're experiencing internally, and I want you to really hear this because it will help you understand all the confusing behavior you might have witnessed. The comparison trap. Every person they interact with gets unconsciously compared to you. They might go on a date with someone perfectly lovely, someone who checks all the logical boxes, and the whole time, there's this whisper in the back of their mind, but they don't make me feel what they make me feel. They might be in a conversation that should be engaging, and they catch themselves thinking, this is nice, but when I talk to them, it feels different. It feels more. They hate that they're doing this. They don't want to be the kind of person who can't appreciate what's right in front of them. But you've become the standard, and nothing else is measuring up. The energy awareness. They're tuned into your frequency now in ways they can't explain. They'll feel when you're thinking about them. They'll get an urge to reach out right when you're wishing they would. They'll dream about you on nights when you're lying awake thinking about them. If you've pulled back or gone quiet, they feel that absence like a shift in atmospheric pressure. Their body knows when you're energetically present and when you're withdrawing. This isn't imagination, it's the reality of soul-level connection. Once two people lock in at this depth, there's an invisible tether that doesn't break just because physical distance or life circumstances get in the way. The future projection. They catch themselves imagining scenarios with you. Not just romantic fantasies, though those happen too, but real life. Mundane moments. Sunday mornings. Handling difficult news together. Celebrating small victories. Meeting each other's families. Building something lasting. These thoughts ambush them at random times. They'll be driving and suddenly picture you in the passenger seat. They'll be at the grocery store and imagine what you'd pick off the shelf. They'll be falling asleep and wonder what it would feel like to have you there beside them, breathing in the darkness, safe and close in theirs. And these aren't idle daydreams. They feel possible. They feel more real than the actual circumstances of their current life. This is their heart showing them what wants to be built, what's trying to emerge, what the soul is reaching toward. And it scares them as much as it thrills them. The vulnerability confrontation. Being around you, or even just thinking about you, brings all their relationship wounds to the surface. Every time they've been hurt. Every time they've been disappointed. Every time they've opened their heart and had it handled carelessly. All of it comes up, creating this internal standoff between desire and self-protection. They want to move toward you, but the scared parts of them are screaming warnings. Remember last time. Remember how much it hurt. Remember how long it took to recover. Is this person worth that risk? And the answer their heart keeps giving is yes. But accepting that answer means accepting vulnerability, and vulnerability is the hardest thing for a wounded heart to choose. So they oscillate. They move forward, then retreat. They show you their feelings, then hide them. They test the waters, then act like they weren't testing anything at all. This isn't game playing, it's self-preservation wrestling with soul recognition. The identity shift. Here's something profound that's happening. Their sense of who they are is changing because of you. The person they thought they were, the life they thought they wanted, the future they thought they were building, all of it is being reevaluated through the lens of what they feel for you. Maybe they thought they were fine being alone, and now they're realizing they were just waiting for the right person. Maybe they thought they wanted one kind of life, and being around you has awakened desire for something completely different. Maybe they thought they'd dealt with their past and moved on, and your presence is showing them there's deeper healing still needed. Don't have it all figured out. Maybe there's more for me. Maybe I'm allowed to want what I actually want instead of what I think I should want. This is why the connection feels so intense. If this person has any spiritual awareness at all, it's not just about wanting to be with you. They're wrestling with questions about around you makes them feel more alive and divine orchestration. More authentic. They're wondering, more like the person they actually are underneath all the roles and masks they wear. Someone I'm meant to learn from, they're drawn to, someone I'm meant to build with, draws out the best in them. They're looking for signs, and that's terrifying. Paying attention to synchronicities, because now they can't unknow trying to decipher whether the complications in your path together are settling for connections that don't touch this to honor. You've ruined them for superficiality. Between making things happen and trusting the unfolding, and they see someone beneath all of these specific experiences, that will ever feel like enough again. Overwhelming truth pulsing through everything. If you've sensed that you can't imagine their future without you, how they see connection, not in a desperate, unhealthy attachment kind of way, out of it, but in this deep, pursue other connections that you're meant to prove that what they felt with you wasn't unique. Whether that's as a romantic partner, will keep returning to that moment, a mirror for healing, because something they haven't even conceptualized yet. They don't know. Some people, but they know you matter. Recognized by the soul, they know this connection is significant by the heart. They know their heart started with that one moment when their heart skipped, and that recognition has changed them irreversibly. When they saw something in you, if this person's energy has been heavy on you lately, when everything clicked into place and simultaneously fell apart, because now they know what's possible below, and that knowledge has transformed them forever. When their heart let's skipped, talk about what's been happening in them since that pivotal moment. Suddenly, because this is where the real depth and reveals once you're awake, itself. You can't pretend to be sleeping anymore. Not just that they felt something, they see now what's possible, but what that something has been doing to them day after day, moment after moment. They know now that there's a depth of intimacy and recognition available that happens when someone imprints on your heart. And it all traces back into their internal narrative. To that moment when you unknowingly showed them something unhealthy way, something true, subtle, something that their heart had been just searching for without knowing what it was searching for, until it found the framework of how they process experiences. So now that you understand what happened in them and the standard by which they measure moments of beauty or connection or truth. Because understanding their dynamics is beautiful, talking to someone else requires knowing how to move scrolling through their waters with integrity, and something will trigger a memory of you, and grace, a song, honor what's real without forcing its weather. Here's someone's the first laugh principle. That sounds nothing like yours, but somehow reminds them of you anyway. Obligated to build a traditional romantic relationship with them, or to build back in that moment when they first really saw you. Connection is real. Their chest recognition is real. Their breath catches. Soul-level resonance is real. And they have to actively pull themselves back to the present moment, because thinking about you has this way of making everything else feel less for individual growth, or a beautiful encounter that changes you both without lasting forever. They've tried. That's not something you control through force or strategy. Cautious or self-protective to convince them of what they feel thinking about you. They already feel it. They've tried to rationalize why it doesn't make them ready before they're ready. Why the timing is wrong. You can't accelerate someone else's feeling would be complicated or risky. Your job is to remain true to other people, clear about your abilities, and open to whatever form this connection wants to take. Not without abandoning yourself in the process of waiting, because they're hoping or trying to make something happen. This means you get to honor the connection while also, and I want you to really hear this, because it will help you understand all the confusing behavior you might have between us, And also
the comparison
say,
trap.
and I'm not willing to be in limbo they interact with gets unconsciously compared to you simultaneously. They might go on a date with someone perfectly and you matter to you more. Someone who checks all the logical boxes, not games. And the whole time, if you feel safe enough in the back of their mind with this person about what exists what they make me feel, do it. They might be in a conversation that should be engaging, but they catch themselves thinking, I feel something here. But when I talk to them, it feels different. I'm not asking you to have it all figured out. But I need to know if I'm imagining this or they don't want to be the kind of person who can't appreciate what's right in front of them. Either open a door or close the standard, and both nothing else is measuring up. An open door gives you information about possibility. They're tuned into your frequency now in ways they can't explain. To stop wondering and redirect your energy. What doesn't serve you is to reach out right when you're wishing they would. Don't feel what you feel. They'll dream about you on nights when you're lying awake thinking about where no one says what's true. If you've pulled back or gone quiet, life is too short for that kind of self-abandonment. Like a shift in atmospheric pressure. If they can't handle your honesty, their body knows when you're energetically present and when you're withdrawing. And that's this isn't imagination. Let them not be ready. The reality of you don't need to make yourself smaller or less clear to make them comfortable. At this depth, there's an invisible tether that doesn't break just because physical distance or life circumstances get in the way themselves out. The future projection. Don't decline opportunities. They catch themselves ignore other imagining scenarios or stop building your own dreams because you're hoping this person will eventually step up. But real life, the best thing you can do mundane for yourself and for this Sunday connection mornings is to keep living difficult news together. Keep growing, celebrating small victories. Keep opening your heart to life in all its forms. Building something lasting. Here's why this matters. These thoughts, if they're meant to be in your life in a significant way, they'll be driving and evolution won't push them away. It will either draw them forward or and imagine what you pick off the shelf. And if they're not meant to be in your life in the way you're hoping, like to have you there beside them with your own breathing in the darkness, you won't have wasted precious time waiting for something that wasn't meant to manifest. Idle daydreams. The version of you that's fully alive, they feel more real than the actual circumstances of their current life. That's the version their heart showing them what wants to be built. Don't lose that by putting yourself on pause. What the soul is reaching toward. And it scares them as much as it thrills connected to what brings you joy and purpose independent of this connection. You or even just thinking about you of divine brings timing. All their relationship wounds to the orchestration happening every time they've been both of your individual desires or fears. Every time they've opened their heart and had to come together carelessly, the universe will continue to create opportunities for that internal standoff between desire and self-protection. Free will is sacred. They want to move toward timelines, but the individual parts of them are and sometimes the very thing keeping you apart is what both of you need in order to be ready for what's trying to emerge. Remember how long it took to recover. This doesn't mean passively waiting for the universe to deliver. And the answer their heart keeps giving is yes. It means actively participating in your own healing and vulnerability, trusting that if this connection is the hardest thing for a wounded heart to choose. And if it's not, oscillate, something even better aligned is coming. Then retreat. The moment they show you their feelings was significant. Then hide them. It was real. They test the waters. It was meaningful. Then act like they weren't testing anything at all. It was an invitation. This isn't game playing. And both of you get to choose whether and how to accept that invitation. The identity shift. Protect your peace above all else. Here's something profound. If this connection is causing you more pain who they are is changing because of anxiety than peace. The person they thought they were, than the clarity they thought they wanted, information. The future they thought they were building be complicated. All of it is being reevaluated through the lens of what they feel connections might require patience. Maybe they thought they were but they shouldn't require you to constantly question your worth just waiting for the right person. If you're constantly analyzing their behavior, kind of life, trying to decode being around you has awakened desire if you matter to them, completely different. Feeling emotionally maybe they thought by they dealt with their past and moved on. You have permission and your presence is showing them there's you have permission to still needed. This doesn't have it all figured out, and I'm choosing maybe there's more for me. You have permission to let them figure themselves out while you attend to your own what I think I should want. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a connection is release the pressure around it. Create space. Let go of the outcome. Say, if this is meant to be, it will be. And if it's not, I trust something better is coming. This isn't giving up, it's spiritual maturity. It's understanding that true partnership requires two people who are ready, willing, and able to show up. And if they're not there yet, your waiting won't get them there faster. Recognize your worth isn't tied to their readiness. This is perhaps the most important principle. The fact that their heart skipped when they saw you confirms something beautiful about who you are, but your worth isn't dependent on what they do with that recognition. You are valuable, lovable, and deserving of reciprocated love regardless of whether this person steps up or not. Don't let this connection become evidence for old wounds that tell you you're not enough. Don't let their hesitation or fear or confusion become proof that something's wrong with you. Remember, what they saw in you was real, The fact that they're struggling to honor what they feel says everything about where they are in their journey and nothing about your worthiness of love. You don't need them to choose you for you to be chosen. You don't need them to be ready for you to be ready for love. You don't need them to overcome their fears for you to be worth pursuing. Stand in the truth of who you are, the same authenticity, depth, and aliveness that captivated their heart in the first place, and trust that the right person at the right time will not hesitate. They'll see you and step forward. They'll feel the connection and lean in. They'll recognize what you offer and match it with their own offering. Let your discernment guide you. Pay attention to actions, not just feelings. Feelings are real and important, but they're not the only data point. Are they showing up? Are they being consistent? Are they doing the internal work required to be ready for the kind of connection you represent? Or are they keeping you in emotional limbo while they figure themselves out at your expense? Your heart might be saying, yes, this person, while your intuition is saying, not like this. Not yet. Maybe not at all. Both can be true. You can honor the soul recognition and honor the reality that the circumstances or their readiness don't align with what you need and deserve. This isn't about being rigid or unforgiving. It's about being wise. It's about understanding that love without integrity, respect, and mutual effort isn't the kind of love that nourishes. It's the kind that depletes. Practice radical self-honoring. Whatever you choose in response to this connection, whether you lean in, step back, communicate directly, create distance, stay open, or close the door, make sure it comes from a place of self-honoring. Ask yourself, what choice allows me to maintain my dignity? What choice keeps me connected to my own worth? What choice will I look back on with respect for how I treated myself? Sometimes self-honoring means staying and being patient with someone's process. Sometimes it means leaving because their process is costing you too much. Sometimes it means having a difficult conversation. Sometimes it means walking away quietly. There's no universal right answer, only what's right for you in this situation at this time, given who you are and what you need to thrive. If you're committed to honoring yourself through this, no matter what they choose, type "I choose me" in the comments. This journey you're on, navigating this intense connection with wisdom and self-respect, it's refining you. It's teaching you about your capacity for love, your resilience, your worth, and your strength. Whether this person ends up being your partner or not, you're becoming someone who knows how to honor deep feeling while also honoring yourself. And that's the real gift. That's what transforms you from someone who gets swept up in connection into someone who moves through connection with grace. Let's bring this home. Let's talk about what all of this means and where you go from here, because understanding the mechanics of what happened is beautiful, but you need to be able to carry this wisdom into your actual life, into your real decisions, into the messy, tender, complicated reality of loving someone who saw you and whose heart skipped. Here's what I want you to hold on to. That moment when their heart skipped, it was sacred. It was true. It was a genuine recognition that can't be faked or manufactured. In a world full of superficial encounters and forgettable interactions, what happened between you was significant. Don't let anyone, including the voice of doubt in your own head, minimize what you experienced. Soul recognition is rare. Most people go through entire lifetimes without feeling it even once. The fact that it happened, that you know what it feels like to be truly seen by someone who's seeing matters to you, that's a gift. But here's the mature truth you have to hold alongside that beauty. Recognition doesn't equal readiness. Someone's heart can skip every time they see you, and they can still not be in a place to honor what they feel. They can feel everything, all the attraction, all the resonance, all the soul-level knowing, and still be too wounded, too afraid, too committed to other paths, too caught in their own growth process to step into what's possible between you. And that's not your fault. It's not a reflection of insufficiency in you or in the connection. It's just the reality that timing, readiness, and alignment are part of the equation, not just feeling. Love requires more than recognition. It requires courage, availability, willingness, and effort. All the heart skipping in the world won't build a relationship if someone isn't ready to do the work that real partnership requires. So what do you do with all of this? You take the evidence of your impact, the knowledge that you moved someone, that you woke something up in them, that you showed them what's possible, and you let that affirm your worth. You let that be proof that you are magnetic, that you are seen, that you are significant. And then you take that certainty about your own value and you carry it forward into whatever comes next. If this person comes around, if they do their healing, face their fears, and show up ready to build something real with you, you'll have the clarity to assess whether that's still what you want. Because here's the thing, you're not going to be the same person by the time they figure themselves out. You're growing. You're evolving. You're learning what you will and won't accept in love. The version of you they first saw might be willing to wait indefinitely, but the version of you that's emerging through this experience? She knows her worth. She knows what she deserves. And she won't settle for crumbs of connection when she's offering a feast. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a connection is release the pressure around it. If they choose comfort over courage, if they let go of the outcome, their decisions for them, say, you'll know that their unreadiness just saved you from a dynamic that would have required you to shrink, to wait, this isn't giving up, smaller than the magnificent being you are. It's understanding that the universe requires you from giving your precious energy to someone who couldn't yet match what you bring. And if they're not there yet, your waiting won't get them there faster. Either you get a partner who eventually rises your worth isn't tied to their readiness, or you get freed up for someone who's already there, already ready, the fact that their heart skips when they saw you've confirmed something beautiful about who you are. I want to address everyone who supported this channel with that recognition. You make it possible for me to dedicate hours to crafting these messages with love regardless of whether this person's video has touched something in your soul. Don't let this connection become situation with new clarity that tell you you're not enough. Thanks button below is a beautiful way to fear or confusion become proof that whether you do or not, you're valued, you're seen, what they saw and I'm honored you spent this time with me. The fact that they're struggling to honor what they feel says everything about where they are in their journey. You did nothing wrong about your worthiness of love. You did nothing wrong by showing up authentically in that moment when you don't need them to be ready for you. You didn't manipulate or perform or try to capture them to overcome their fears for you to be worth pursuing. That will always be enough. The truth of who you are. The right person won't need you to be different or more or less. And aliveness that captivated their heart and know they found something rare. And trust that the right person at the right time will not hesitate. Imagine yourself in 6 months from now. They'll feel the connection and looking back at this moment. They'll recognize what you offer the version of you who's moved through this experience. Let your discernment guide you. Pay attention to action without abandoning yourself. Who stay true to your worth and even when it was hard. But they're not the only data version of you want to say to the version of you sitting here right now. I think she wants to say, thank you for not to be ready for the kind of connection you represent. You deserved more than confusion and emotional limbo while they figure themselves out and connected to your own light. Your heart might be saying yes, fear try to dim it, while your intuition is saying understanding that their heart skipping was beautiful. Maybe your heart continuing to beat with certainty about your own value. You can honor the soul recognition and honor the reality that the circumstances or their readiness if you're committing to honoring yourself and deserve whatever comes next. This isn't about being rigid or unforgiving. You are not waiting to be chosen. It's about being wise. You are not holding your breath. It's about understanding someone love without integrity, respect, you already know your mutual effort isn't the kind of love that was just confirmation of what was always true. Practice captivating exactly as you are. Whatever you choose in response to this connection, your authenticity. Whether you lean in, you are powerful in your vulnerability. Communicate directly. You are unforgettable in your realness. Open or close and the door. And whoever gets to build a life with you, from a place whether it's this person or someone you haven't met yet, what choice just be getting someone their heart my dignity for? What they'll be getting someone who knows how to love deeply while respecting themselves fiercely. With respect for someone who understands that connection is sacred, but self-abandonment is never the price of love. With someone's process. Someone who's walked through the fire of uncertain connection and emerged with more clarity, too much, more strength. Sometimes it means having a difficult conversation and won't accept. Sometimes it means walking away quietly. The one you're becoming through this. There's no universal right answer. She's unstoppable. Only what's right for you. So here's your invitation as you close this video and return to your life and what you need to beauty of being seen. If you're committed to honoring yourself of someone else's, no matter what they choose, celebrate that your authenticity has the power to make this journey you're without dimming navigating this intense connection with wisdom and self-respect. The connection without dishonoring yourself. It's teaching you about your capacity to love while maintaining your boundaries that protect your worth and your strength. That what's meant for whether this person ends up being your partner or not, convinced, you're becoming someone who knows how to honor painful feeling while also honoring their heart yourself. Skipped when they saw something beautiful. That's the real gift. Now let your heart transform you from someone who gets swept up in your resilience into someone who your willingness to connection with grace in a world that teaches hardness. for your
Let's talk
capacity
about
to
what
recognize
all of this
soul-level
means and
where you go without losing yourself
because understanding the
This
mechanics
story
of what
isn't
happened
over.
is beautiful,
Whether it
but you need
continues
to be able
with
to
this
carry this
person
wisdom
or opens
into
you
your
up to
actual
something
life,
even better,
into your real
the best
decisions,
chapters are
into
still
the
being
messy,
written,
tender,
and the person writing
complicated
them
reality of
is
loving
wiser,
someone who saw
stronger,
you and whose
more
heart
certain
skipped.
of her worth
Here's
than ever
what
before.
I want you to hold on
You
to.
came to this
That
video
moment
for a
when
reason.
their heart skipped.
Maybe you
It was
needed
sacred.
confirmation that
It
what
was
you
true.
felt was real.
It was a genuine
Maybe you needed
recognition
permission
that
to
can't be
step back
faked or
or
manufactured.
Maybe
In a
you
world
needed to
full of
understand what's been
superficial
happening
encounters
beneath
and
the surface.
forgettable interactions.
Maybe you just
What
needed to
happened
feel
between
less
you was
alone in the
significant.
beautiful,
Don't let
complicated
anyone,
experience
including
of
the
being
voice of
truly
doubt
seen
in
by
your own
someone.
head,
Whatever you
minimize
needed,
what you
I hope you
experienced.
found it here.
Soul
I hope
recognition
you're walking
is
away
rare.
with more clarity,
Most people
more
go through
peace,
entire
and more
lifetimes
certainty that you are
without
worthy
feeling
of
it even
love
once.
that shows up,
The fact that it happened,
that
it
you
honors
know
what it feels like to be
hiding
truly
behind
seen by
fear
someone
or
whose
confusion
seeing matters to you.
As we close,
That's a gift.
I'd love to hear
But
from
here's
you.
the mature
What's
truth
one thing
you
you're
have to
taking
hold
away from this
alongside
message?
that beauty.
Drop it in the
Recognition
comments.
doesn't equal
Your
readiness.
insight might be
Someone's
exactly
heart
what someone
can
else
skip
needs
every
to
time
hear.
they see you,
And for those
they
who
can
want to
still
take
not
this
be in a
deeper,
place to honor
remember
what
that
they
this
feel.
journey of
They
honoring
can feel
yourself
everything,
while navigating
all the
deep
attraction,
connection is
all the
ongoing
resonance,
work.
all the soul
It's
level
not about
knowing,
perfection,
and still
it's
be
about
too
presence.
wounded, too
It's about
afraid,
showing up
too
for
committed
yourself
to
the
other
way you've been
paths,
showing up
too
for
caught
others.
in their own growth
It's about
process
believing
to
that you
step into
deserve
what's
the
possible
same
between
depth
you.
of care,
And that's not your
attention,
fault.
and commitment
It's
that
not
you
a
so
reflection
freely
of
give.
insufficiency
You are
in
seen,
you or in the
you
connection.
are valued.
It's just
You
the
are loved.
reality that
And
timing,
your journey,
readiness,
whether
and
it
alignment
includes
are part of the equation,
leads you to
not
someone
just
else
feeling.
entirely,
Love
is
requires
unfolding
more than
exactly
recognition.
as it needs
It
to for your
requires
highest
courage,
good.
availability,
Their hearts skipped when they
willingness,
saw you.
and effort.
Now let
All
that
the
be the
heart
beginning
skipping
of
in
your
the
story.
world won't
Not
build a
the
relationship
entire thing.
if someone
Let it
isn't
be
ready to do
evidence
the
of your
work that
impact
real
without
partnership
being the
requires.
measure of your worth.
So what do you do
Let
with
it
all
be
of this?
beautiful without
You
being
take the
binding.
evidence of your impact,
Let it be significant
the knowledge that you
without being
moved someone,
all-consuming.
that you woke
And as
something
you
up in
move
them,
forward
that
from
you
here,
showed them what's
remember,
possible,
the most
and you let
attractive
that
thing
affirm
about
your
you
worth.
was never
You
what
let
you
that
tried
be
to be.
proof that you are
It was who you
magnetic,
couldn't help
that you
but
are
be.
seen,
You're
that you are
authentic,
significant,
unfiltered,
and then you take
beautifully
that
imperfect
certainty
self.
about your own
Don't
value
lose
and
that
you
trying
try
to
to
keep
keep someone's
someone's
attention.
into whatever comes
Don't
next.
dim that trying
If this
to make
person
someone
comes
comfortable.
around,
If they
that
do their
essence,
healing,
that
face
truth,
their fears,
that realness
and show
that
up
made
ready
their
to
heart
build
skip
something
in the
real
first
with you,
place,
you'll have the
guard it.
clarity to
Honor
assess
it.
whether that's
Let
still
it
what you
guide you
want.
toward
Because
connections where you
here's the
don't
thing,
have to perform
you're not
or
going to be the
pretend
same
or
person
shrink
by
to
the
be
time
loved.
they figure
You
themselves
deserve
out.
someone whose
You're
heart
growing.
doesn't just skip
You're
when they
evolving.
see you. It
You're
stays.
learning what you will and
Someone
won't
who
accept in
feels
love.
the recognition
The version
and
of you
moves
they
toward it
first saw
instead
might
of
be
running
willing
from
to
it.
wait indefinitely,
Someone who sees
but
your
the version
depth
of you
and
that's
isn't
emerging
intimidated.
through this
Someone
experience,
who witnesses
she
your
knows her
vulnerability
worth.
and doesn't
She
weaponize
knows
it.
what she deserves.
Someone who
And she won't
experiences your
settle for
joy
crumbs
and
of
wants to
connection
live
when
in it
she's
with you.
offering a feast. Whether that's this person once they do their work, or someone else entirely, trust that it's coming. Trust that the universe doesn't show you what's possible just to taunt you. It shows you what's possible to prepare you, to refine your knowing, to help you recognize the real thing when it arrives without fear attached to it. So take a deep breath. Place your hand on your heart. Feel it beating strong and steady. That rhythm has carried you through everything, every disappointment, every confusion, every moment of doubt. It's still here, still strong, still ready for whatever comes next. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be free, free from the need for someone else's validation, free from the anxiety of uncertain connection, free to love fully without losing yourself. And that freedom? That's the real gift of this entire experience. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me with this tender part of your heart. Thank you for choosing growth over bitterness, wisdom over resentment, hope over cynicism. The world needs people like you, people who feel deeply and stay soft, who love courageously and honor themselves, who believe in real connection even when it's complicated. One final request: if this message helped you in any way, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps more people who need this find their way here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, join this community of people who are committed to loving themselves while staying open to love. We're building something beautiful here, a space where depth is celebrated, authenticity is honored, and self-respect is non-negotiable. Go forward from here with your head high and your heart protected. You know what you experienced was real. You know what you felt was valid. And you know that no matter what happens with this person, you're going to be more than fine, you're going to be magnificent. Their heart skipped. Yours kept beating. And that steady, certain rhythm of your own worth? That's what will carry you into everything beautiful that's coming. I'll see you in the next video, beautiful soul. Until then, choose you. Always choose you.